Professor, would you consider science and religion as aspects of IFA, and how so?
Yes, you're right. Both things are two aspects of IFA because, well, they are not the only ones, all right? But they are the main ones. Religion and science are, I would say, two different faces of a coin, the same coin. In this case, IFA is the coin. And the value of that coin is when the two faces are together. If you divide the coin loses the value. So it is very important to get together these two faces, science and religion. There is a bridge between these two because they are two different forms to express IFA. IFA is, as we know, the universal knowledge. The universal knowledge is the most important aspect because we are talking about a whole. We are talking about information where everything is based on. Religion is the way of having access to the invisible world. This invisible world, that is the subatomic world, based on faith. And science try to find the same thing, try to investigate and to look for in the same place, invisible world also. So it means that when we are talking about both religion and science, we are talking about different aspects looking for the truth that exists in that invisible world. So, for example, there is a kind of science that is the science of knowledge, the epistemology, that describes these two things in a very easy form to understand. For example, in this case, religion could be within the epistemology the aspect of the what, the knowledge of what. In the case of the science, is the knowledge of why and how, when. We are talking about knowing something, and we're talking about looking for the different relationship of the knowledge that is understanding. When you have a new experience, a new knowledge, you try to get what is the kind of relationship that this new experience has with the old experience that you have in your mind. That is understanding. That is science. Well, the fact is that religion is based on faith. Science is based on experience. They have to experiment everything. They have to measure everything. It is enough the evidence that the religious person have about God as a creator in order to be obedient to those principles and laws, because they consider that God has written, a way to say it, has written different guidelines in order to dictate how to work with the environment, and at the same time to have harmony, to have balance in that kind of relationship, interaction. So they don't need to experiment any other thing. They don't need to measure anything. They believe in God and they obey God. They try to look for God's word. In this case, maybe through IFA, maybe through the Quran, maybe through the Bible. But that's enough for them. In the case of a scientist, they need to experiment those things that they seem to be real, but they don't consider it real, and they don't consider that those things are the truth until they get a measurement of it. And at the same time, they try to get together and to, let's say, they try to meet different details. They try to gather different details in order to get a conclusion of the truth. So they need more details, and those details and experiments have to have the same conduct and the same result in different places and in different conditions. For them, to believe in God is not enough. But the most important thing is that both are looking for the truth in the same place, in the invisible world. One using the faith, the other one using the instruments to measure. Let's illustrate this. How they, in a way, have to need, or they need each other. For example, a person that got a flat tire, he doesn't need to be a chemical engineer in order to replace that flat tire. It is enough to know how to replace it. But he doesn't need to know the molecular structure of the rubber of the tire in order to replace the tire. But in the case of a scientist, let's say, is a person that maybe is a chemical engineer, that he needs and he knows the structure, molecular structure of the rubber of the tire. At the same time that he can replace the tire, at the same time, he also can know what is better, or what kind of tire is better, or what kind of rubber is better, in order to buy those tires, and for them, or for the person in this case, to have the advantage of a lasting tire. So both need each other in order to create the tire. The case of a scientist, and in the case of a religious person, he needs to know how to replace. So they are sharing the work in different ways. That is IFA and its aspects of religion and science.